I witnessed my father being murdered, and ever since life has been an endless loop of pain and drugs. When you live your life in fear, it becomes an endless cycle of pain, which all started on the night of my 10th birthday. It's funny, I've no memory of that day being a happy celebration. All I remember is the fear I felt sitting on my bed as I covered my ears trying to drown out the shouting that filled our bedroom and the face of the monster that entered our bedroom that night. My sister was in the bed next to mine. She was screaming as if she was being attacked. My dad must have heard her and came into the room to protect us. I didn't see it at first. I was probably too scared to open my eyes, but when I did, it was just standing there looking right at me, with its black soulless eyes and a gaunt and pale expressionless face. I remembered my dad lunging at the monster before he fell to the floor bleeding. The next thing I remember is my mom coming into the room screaming, and when I looked, the monster was gone. You see, monsters aren't meant to exist, and for years, no one believed me, but I know what I saw. The police said it was probably a junkie trying to rob us, but they could never explain how it got into the house. There was no sign of a break-in and the house was still locked up tight. After that night nothing was the same for us. My mom decided to check. She was there in body, but it was like the lights were on, but no one was home. I resented her deeply for it. We needed her more than anyone. Instead, we lived with the sense that we had lost two parents. My love affair with drugs started with my mother. Her self-medicating came in the form of blue and purple pills she called Mommy's Little Helpers, which only helped to turn her into something we didn't recognize. It was harder on my sister, who was too young to realize what was happening. She didn't understand why her mommy's voice changed when she was so out of it. She didn't understand why her mom couldn't get out of bed most days to make sure she had something to eat before school. She didn't understand why mommy would nod off during a parent-teacher meeting, which resulted in us getting taken into care. Eventually, she got her act together long enough to get us back. There was a brief moment when I saw the person we called Mom, but it was short-lived. It didn't take long before the pills took over again. I was 15 the last time I saw my mother alive before she was dragged off to a mental institution. I had learned from the best, and it started with me sneaking my mother's pills when she was too wasted to notice. It didn't take long for me to move on to heroin, which has been a part of my life now for 15 years. My sister didn't stand a chance having a mother and a brother for junkies. Being younger, she must have felt more alone than I did, so I understood the place she was in. The last time I saw my sister, she had run away from the care home she was staying in, and I gave her money so she could disappear. It was a few years before I heard from her again. She had phoned me in hysterics telling me it was her fault that our dad was murdered. She begged me to come see her because she didn't want to explain it over the phone. The address she gave me was a run-down, rat-infested squat. I had to climb through a window in the back of the building to get in. If hell was a place, this was it. Misery and desperation seeped from the walls. A smell of puke and stale sweat permeated the air, as I searched around for my sister. I came to a door at the end of the hall which was closed. When I opened it, I was hit with the smell of death. My sister's body was already cold, and she still had the needle in her arm. I was too numb to cry, but inside I was screaming. Next to her body was a note with my name on it with the words, "It wasn't your fault," written on it. After they took her body away, I decided to stay a few days in the squat since I had no place of my own. My sister had pictures of us during better times stuck to the wall where I found her. I could still feel her presence and didn't want to leave her in this cold, dark place alone. The room had a closet which was the only bit of furniture in the place. I decided to check it to see if my sister had any more drugs hidden away, but it was empty apart from a tunnel. The tunnel had me perplexed. It seemed dark and endless, but on the other side of the wall was an empty room. I climbed in and began making my way down the long and dark passage. It seemed to go on forever, but eventually, a light appeared at the end. When I made it to the other end, I found myself in another closet. As I slowly crept from the closet, I was hit with a familiar smell, something warm that I remembered from my childhood. I had been in this room before. I could feel the tears well up in my eyes as childhood memories came flooding back. It was my old bedroom, the one I shared with my sister all those years ago. I quietly explored the rest of the house. I went downstairs, and there was my dad's favorite chair in the corner, and next to it was the morning paper he would read before he left for work. My eyes widened and my heart began to race when I noticed the date on the paper. It was the day of my 10th birthday and a few hours before my dad was murdered. I found myself back in the rundown squat. I struggled to make sense of what I just discovered, but maybe this was what my sister wanted to talk to me about. Maybe this was a chance to go back and change our lives for the better. This was a chance to go back and kill the monster before he killed my dad. I waited until the sunset before heading back down the tunnel armed with a gun. My heart was pounding as sweat poured from every pore. Even with the heroin in my system, the mixture of fear and anticipation was overwhelming. I kept going until the light at the end of the tunnel appeared. I stayed hidden behind the closet doors and didn't jump out until I heard my dad shouting. I expected to see him struggling with a monster, but when I jumped out of the closet, the monster I found was my dad. He was beating my sister relentlessly as the younger me sat on the other bed covering his ears. For a brief moment, I locked eyes with my younger self. I could feel the fear that radiated from his eyes as my sister screamed for him to stop. My dad's face was a mix of fear and confusion as I screamed at him to stop. He lunged at me from across the room, and without thinking, I shot him, and he fell to the floor. I could hear my mom screaming as I jumped back into the closet and down through the tunnel. When I made it back to the squat, my mind was racing, trying to comprehend what had just happened. It was then I realized what the note my sister left meant. It's not your fault.